What is going on, guys? We are back. The UFC is saving the year with the second half of the year being absolutely stacked. We just got announced for us 3 fights on UFC 320 just a week or two ago. They're all bangers, bro. UFC 320 might potentially be card of the year. We've got 3 fights announced. On top of that, they announced Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane for the main event of UFC 321, guys. Not only that, right before that, UFC 319 in August is a pretty good card as well. The headliner, Hamza Chimaev versus DDP Diddy. Great fight, super hyped up fight. The co-main is Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. Not the best co-main, I'm going to be real, but at least there's potential now that Movsar Evloev will be fighting Volkanovski for the title next. That is what should happen, okay, guys? So I'm here to complete a beautiful UFC 320 card by adding 2 fights onto it, and then absolutely stacking and blessing Abu Dhabi for UFC 321. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it, starting with UFC 320. Ankalaev versus Pereira, I think this is a good matchup. You know, the first fight wasn't super entertaining, but this fight needed to happen. I didn't really want to see Pereira jump to heavyweight. I know there was talks about it. It would be interesting. I want to see him in this rematch against Magomed Ankalaev. The first fight was close. Pereira could win a rematch. I will be picking Ankalaev. I'm 99% sure. As of right now, I'm picking Magomed Ankalaev. My opinion could change, but it's probably not. But Ankalaev versus Pereira. Am I the only one that wonders why this and the Aspinall fight are not flip-flopped? Like, why is Ankalaev not headlining the Abu Dhabi card and Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gane headlining the card in Vegas? I don't know, man, but still a sick fight. Ankalaev versus Pereira, guys. If you have not known, 3 of these fights, the first 3 fights on UFC 320 have already been announced. So Magomed Ankalaev versus Pereira is official for the beginning of October in Vegas. Ankalaev versus Pereira, great main event. Not only that, we have a banger co-main event, which I'm not going to lie, I think everybody will pick Merab Dvalishvili to win this, but still an exciting matchup. Corey Sandhagen poses some threats that maybe some of Merab's challengers have not really posed him before. With that being said, I will be picking Merab Dvalishvili. There's no reason to pick against him right now, you know, unless he comes in this fight with some injury since he's so active. But even that's not enough for me to pick against Merab's. But a banger co-main event, Merab versus Corey Sandhagen, right after Ankalaev versus Pereira. And not only that, guys, that is not the only fights announced on this card. Oh my gosh, guys, she's beautiful. We've got Yuri Prohaska versus Khalil Roundtree as the feature fight on a pay-per-view, bro. Shout out Dana White, man. Look, this card is absolutely stacked already. If they can add 2 more bangers, which is what I'm going to do, we're going to be realistic, but at the same time, we're going to build a great card, okay? Yuri versus Roundtree is fireworks, bro. That's fireworks written all over it. This is the best feature fight you're probably ever going to see, ever. But don't let the UFC fool you, man. Although we do have a stacked card for UFC 320, don't forget, man, the UFC in September, there is no pay-per-view, okay? So the UFC owes us a little bit, okay? This is what we should be expecting in October. But Yuri versus Roundtree, absolutely sick fight. I'm more excited for this than Merab versus Corey. I'm going to be real. But Yuri Prohaska is going to go out there, knock out Khalil Roundtree, and get his deserved title shot once again, man. You know, if he fights Ankalaev, if Ankalaev defeats Pereira again, which I believe he will, Yuri versus Ankalaev, man, it's an entertaining fight. It's an interesting matchup. Y'all know I'm going to ride for my boy Yuri all the time. But let's go ahead and finish out this card with Yair Rodriguez versus Arnold Allen. Listen, there's been talk of Yair potentially fighting for the belt against Volkanovski. No. Absolutely nobody wants to see Volkanovski versus Yair too. First of all, because the first fight was not competitive. Volkanovski went out there, did his thing, got the finish against Yair Rodriguez. And not only that, but also Yair Rodriguez is 1-2 in his last 3 fights. And he expects and demands a title shot, bro. It's not going to happen, buddy. I'm sorry. Yair Rodriguez, you're potentially 2 fights away from fighting for the title again. I want to see you fight Arnold Allen, who has been out of action for so long. I don't know what bro's doing. Maybe he's been nursing some injuries I don't know about. I'm not sure, okay? But Yair versus Arnold Allen is a great fight. It's not a number 1 contenders fight, but it's basically a title eliminator bout, okay? If Yair beats Arnold Allen, then we can talk about a number 1 contender fight. And if Allen beats Yair, we can talk about a number 1 contenders fight for him. But this is a fight that needs to happen, okay? We got Lopez versus John Silva. That's a banger fight in the division. We've got Pico versus Murphy, and hopefully we have Movsar Evloev versus Volkanovski. But there's no reason Yair should be pushing for a title shot. There's no reason the UFC should grant it, okay? The UFC No-Check card is now a fight night, so there's no excuse to have a Mexican fighter fight for a title. It doesn't make sense anymore. So let's do Yair Rodriguez versus Arnold Allen. Not a fight that, I'm going to be losing sleep over, but it is a great fight to add to an already stacked pay-per-view event, okay? Ranked versus ranked, top 10 versus top 10, title eliminator bout in that featherweight division. Let's go ahead and move on to the main card opener, guys. We're trying to be realistic, but at the same time, deliver a banger card, okay? Feature fight, or the main card opener, guys, let's be realistic. We're fighting in Vegas a couple months from now. I mean, how do you not put Kevin Holland on the card? He said he wants to fight, what, 6 or 7 times this year? I'm sorry. But Kevin Holland just took an L against Daniel Rodriguez, bro. Kevin, what are we doing, bro? I thought bro was back. I thought him at 170 was a mythical fighter on a new title run for Kevin Holland. Nope. It's shut down. But Kevin Holland, although he did take a lot of damage in the D-Rod fight, D-Rod almost knocked him out, guys. But Kevin Holland, I don't expect him to take months and months off. No, I expect him to recover and be back by October. He just fought at 318 in July. July, August, September, October. He might even fight before that. Let's be real. But Kevin Holland versus Jake Matthews is a good fight. I don't know if it's even a step down. You know what? It is a step down from D-Rod. Not very much, though. It's not a big step down from Daniel Rodriguez. This is a fight that Kevin Holland can win. And Jake Matthews is riding some momentum. If Jake Matthews can beat a Kevin Holland, maybe we talk about Jake Matthews into a ranked matchup. But it doesn't matter who Kevin Holland's fighting. Kevin Holland is sort of a fan favorite. He's not this massive star, but he's a big enough star to, draw some eyes. People are going to want to watch a Kevin Holland fight. So this is a perfect main card opener for a banger pay-per-view, guys. Look, main card opener, Kevin Holland versus it doesn't matter. It's just Kevin Holland. Yair Rodriguez versus Arnold Allen. I think this is a good spot for this card. These two need to fight. Arnold Allen needs to fight. Yair needs to fight. I don't want to see this man trying to sit out and wait for a title shot. Please don't do that, bro. Yair fumbled, bro. We had Diego Lopez versus Yair Rodriguez, a heated matchup, main event for UFC Noche. And apparently, Yair Rodriguez turned it down. Turned it down. But Yair Rodriguez had his opportunity for a potential number one contender fight. If he would have beat Diego Lopez, then he could fight for the title because Diego Lopez just fought for the title. But unfortunately, buddy, you messed that opportunity up. But Yair versus Allen makes all the sense in the world. And then you go into Yuri versus Roundtree, bro. Guaranteed finish, pretty much. Yuri Prochazka has not been to a decision in his UFC career, I don't believe. He's beat everybody that is not named Alex Pereira. Khalil Roundtree, he's not this crazy finisher necessarily, but he's not really going to a decision every single fight either, bro. He's just aggressive, okay? Yuri versus Roundtree, banger fight. And then we got Merab versus Corey Sandhagen, guys. Going to be a good fight. Fun, stylistic matchup. For the hardcore fans like myself, man. Hardcore Take MMA, y'all know me. Merab versus Sandhagen. Great fight. It's probably going to go all 5 rounds, but that's not it, man. We still got another fight after this, and that is Ankalaev versus Pereira. I think this one will be more entertaining than the first one. I think, it's not very hard to do so, but Ankalaev versus Pereira. I do think Alex is going to be willing to throw more on the feet. I don't think he's going to be as worried about the takedown threat of Ankalaev, but I think that's going to leave him open for counters and potential takedowns. I'm going to be real. Ankalaev, I think, is going to win this fight again. But overall, banger card. Let's move on to UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi, headlined by Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. Now, listen, this is a good fight. I'm okay with this matchup. Cyril Gane, I don't think, deserves the title shot, but I don't think there's an argument for anybody else in the heavyweight division since Jones ducked. But anyway, Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. It's a good fight. It's all right. Probably going to end pretty quickly. I think Tom Aspinall is 100% going to win this fight. Now, he can pick his poison. He can either knock him out on the feet with his blazing heavyweight speed and power, or he could take the path of least resistance and take down the guy with no grappling. And that is Cyril Gane. Tom Aspinall versus Gane. I wish they stacked this card. And I think they will because they tend to bless Abu Dhabi every single time. But I wish that this fight in Ankalaev and Pereira were flipped because Aspinall is the heavyweight champion, but let's be real, he's not a big star yet. People know him as the guy who wanted to fight John Jones, right? He's not a big star. I want Aspinall to become this superstar, to get promoted by Dana White as the baddest man on the planet like he did with Francis Ngannou, like he does with John Jones. I want that for Aspinall. Now, Aspinall versus Gane by itself, I'm going to be real, It's not selling a lot of pay-per-views. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to build a realistic, but we're going to build a pretty stacked card that will help Aspinall, get eyes on him and become a superstar. So for the co-main event, I mean, how do you not do Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje, man? This fight absolutely needs to happen, bro. Justin Gaethje is saying that it's not going to happen. And I think the UFC is going to say otherwise. They're going to offer this fight, I believe. Now, if Justin Gaethje does not accept it, they're probably just going to move on. I don't see the UFC just giving Justin Gaethje a title shot against Ilya. I really hope not. Nobody in the world would pick Justin Gaethje to beat Ilya Topuria, guys. It would just be sad, okay? I would feel bad for the guy. But if that happened, Paddy Pimblett versus Arman Tsarukyan works here as well. That's a banger fight as well. But I don't think that's going to happen. The UFC is not going to reward Arman Tsarukyan. They're probably going to give him like a Dan Hooker, if I'm being real. But Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje, I think they're going to promise Justin Gaethje, look, to incentivize him to take this fight, they're going to say, look, Justin Gaethje, if you beat Paddy Pimblett in Abu Dhabi, you will 100% fight for the title in your very next fight. And I think that's okay. If Justin Gaethje does go out there and beat Paddy Pimblett, sure, I'm not mad at a Gaethje title fight. And if Paddy Pimblett beats Justin Gaethje, then why not let him fight for the title next? I think it's a win-win if Paddy Pimblett gets another name on the resume like a Justin Gaethje, who's a fan favorite, who's well-known in the UFC. Paddy Pimblett's already a superstar, man. If he beats Justin Gaethje, it, hypes up an Ilya Topuria matchup even more, bro. But this is a banger co-main event. I understand that the headliner does not include any, Muslim fighters on it as well. Neither does the co-main event. It doesn't matter. We're still going to bless the Abu Dhabi crowd. I tried to sneak in like a Shavkat versus Brady matchup. Shavkat's injured. I don't know how long he's out. I don't think he's going to return until, at the earliest, maybe December. I thought about Bilal Muhammad versus Ian Gary. I would rather see this fight. I'm going to be real. Bilal Muhammad also took a beating against JDM. Don't know if he's going to be ready either. We even thought about Umar Nurmagomedov, who I thought was a lock for this card, but apparently Habib has said Umar Nurmagomedov has an opponent signed, I believe. He has an opponent. He doesn't have a date yet, but he said it's going to be a 5-round main event. So go ahead and scratch that. He's not the main event on this Abu Dhabi pay-per-view. I think Umar versus Mario Bautista would be a good addition to this card, but it doesn't sound like that they're going that route. And then obviously Hamza Chimaev is fighting Dricus du Plessis. I mean, how do you not make Paddy versus Gaethje, bro? This is a number one contenders fight. I hope Arman Tsarukyan gets booked as well. But this is fine, man. Ilya Topuria, I don't believe to be fighting this year. I'm going to be real. Unless they try to turn around, I said this in a previous video. They're probably going to do Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker. Preferably September. I don't know. But if they make Arman Tsarukyan fight somebody like that, then they're going to flip him around and try to make sure he does not win the belt and then have him fight Ilya Topuria in December. But they might not even risk that at all. Ilya Topuria could potentially just wait it out and fight the winner of this matchup right here. But anyway, let's move on to the feature fight on the glorious UFC 321 card. This fight's already announced, man. It's not my favorite fight necessarily. It's still a good fight. It's still main card worthy. Volkov versus Almeida. Sort of a number one contenders fight in a way. If Almeida beats Volkov, he's guaranteed to fight for the title next. And if Volkov can pick up a win against Almeida, he could potentially be fighting Tom Aspinall again. I mean, the heavyweight division is so bad. Also, Volkov beat Cyril Gane, the man who's fighting for the title. Alexander Volkov got robbed, in my opinion. So if he beats Jelton Almeida, he could potentially try to get his revenge against Tom Aspinall. But again, I don't see him beating Tom Aspinall. I think Jelton Almeida probably wins this fight. It's a fine fight. I'm not mad at this matchup. It's already confirmed. I don't believe this will be on the prelims unless this card's just otherworldly and stacked. But I think this is a good spot for it. I could see it being the feature fight. But it's all good. Again, not a fight that I'm hooting and hollering about, bro. I'm not losing sleep, tossing and turning. Oh my gosh, who's going to win? Volkov or Almeida? No, but it's still a good fight. I respect the matchup. It's kind of intriguing. It's probably not going to be very entertaining, but it's a good fight. Let's go ahead and move on. I love this fight, guys. I really love this fight. Vinicius Oliveira just picked up a big win against Kyler Phillips. Put him against Chito Vera, okay? Vinicius, I believe, is ranked 13 in that bantamweight division. Chito Vera holds the number 7 spot. I'm going to be real. Chito Vera should fight an up-and-coming prospect like Vinicius Oliveira. Chito Vera has proved he's not championship material. He's a decent contender, He's been around the game for forever. He's not going to fight for the title again. Let him, let an upcoming prospect kind of use his name to potentially bump him up in the top 10. And I think the way you do that is against a guy like Vinicius Oliveira, who said that he wants to fight on this card. He said he wants to fight in Abu Dhabi. I believe he called out Umar Nurmagomedov. He called out Sean O'Malley. I could be wrong. He's calling for those fights. He's not going to get those right away. But if he goes out there and beats Chito Vera, then we could talk about a top 5 matchup. But Vinicius Oliveira, a good prospect in the bantamweight division. His style is very interesting. I like me some Vinicius Oliveira, but don't know how sustainable his style is. Kind of a goofy goober style, hands down, just slugging. He's just a fighter, bro. That's how you explain it. He's a fighter. Maybe his skills don't look super good to the eye, super technical, but he's a good fighter, bro. He's undefeated. He just beat Kyler Phillips. I think he could beat Chito Vera. And Chito Vera, he needs a win. I think he's on a 2-fight losing streak. He has not fought since, I guess the last time he fought was in Abu Dhabi against Davison Figueiredo. But Chito Vera's on a 2-fight losing streak. Potentially could be 3 if he fights Vinicius Oliveira. But this is a good bounce back spot for Chito Vera. If he does beat Vinicius, he can get another top 10 fighter. But this is a matchup that I would be more excited for than this matchup. I'm going to be real. But Vinicius Oliveira, can he break through into the top 10 against a crafty vet like Chito Vera? I think he can. Again, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think either of these fighters are Muslim or from the surrounding area of Abu Dhabi. I know that. They're both Brazilian. Vera versus Oliveira. But this is a fun fight, bro. This is a fun fight. Both guys have finishing power. There could be a finish, man. Honestly, I don't know who wins this. I would lean towards Vinicius Oliveira, but let's go ahead and move on to the main card opener. This is a banger, guys. That's all I got to say. This is a beautiful, one of the best main card openers you'll see all year. Shara Bullet Magomedov, who just fought and broke his nose. Hopefully he recovers well, against Roman Kopylov, who also just fought. Both of these guys are on the same exact timeline, just about, I think, 1 week apart. And Shara Bullet took a lot of damage. Roman Kopylov also took a lot of damage against Paulo Costa. More liver shots, shots to the body. Ate a lot of nasty body kicks from Paulo Costa. He did not like those. So there's potential. Roman Kopylov has some internal damage on the inside, but I don't know, man. Let's flip him around, make him fight in Abu Dhabi anyway. Shara Bullet versus Roman Kopylov. This is such a fun matchup. Both crafty strikers in the division. And it's kind of a test to see where these fighters are at. Roman Kopylov just had a massive jump up in competition against Paulo Costa, and he got schooled. Shara, when he got his massive jump up in competition, he got schooled by MVP. Again, that one's different. I think this is a good fight. Prospect versus prospect. Russian versus Russian. Who's going to win? I feel like it's a lock. As long as Shara has recovered from his injuries from this past weekend, I feel like he's a lock to be on the Abu Dhabi card. That seems to be the only place that he fights. So let's put him on here against another striker. Let's put him in a fun matchup, not against these cans. Let's give him a real test in Roman Kopylov. So this is the beautiful UFC 321 Abu Dhabi card, starting off with the main card opener, Shara versus Roman Kopylov, leading into Vinicius Oliveira versus Chito Vera, leading into Volkov versus Almeida, going into a banger co-main event, Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje, and to cap it off with the first round finish of Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know if I cooked. Let me know some fights you would add on UFC 320 or UFC 321. But be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new, and turn the post notifications on, guys. You don't want to miss a live stream, okay? But I appreciate y'all for tuning in, and we out.